morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, how to voice the radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look at a couple of cards, one of which is really, really important, and one of which is a new Pokémon V that is so close to being amazing, it actually hurts just a little bit. But let's start off with a card that could actually end up changing quite a lot. It's Fortin. Now, what we've got here is a supporter card that is going to sound kind of familiar. What it does, obviously translation here from the lovely Antoine Boulet, as I'm sure you guessed at this point. Also, it's Antoine's birthday today, apparently, so if you want to head on over to Twitter at Twanley and give them a lovely happy birthday message, that might be a rather nice thing to do. And this says, choose a basic Pokemon from your discard pile and switch it with one of your basic Pokemon in play. Any attached cards, damage counters, special conditions, turns in play, and any other effects remain on the new Pokemon. And that is absolutely huge. Sure, you don't really want special conditions to stay and all of that, that's not ideal, but you absolutely do want to keep turns in play and attached cards like energy. For what it's worth, that means that essentially if you've got a basic Pokemon in play, you can then use Fortin here to swap it with a basic Pokemon in your discard pile, and then you can immediately evolve it, because if the one that's gone was in play for a turn, we treat the new one coming in as if it has been in play for a turn. And put simply, this is going to lead to some dumb combos. And sure, you've got the basic ones there. So let's say, I don't know, let's say you're playing Arceus Duraludon, for argument's sake. And you get yourself 2 Arceus in play, but you don't get yourself a Duraludon turn 1. Well, this will let you swap one of those Arceus for a Duraludon, so now all of a sudden, instead of having 2 Arceus, no Duraludon, you've got one of each. This is a good thing. It makes up for some early game awkwardness. If you don't quite get the setup you want in the early game, you can use this to essentially fix that. And actually, Arceus is a great example here, because remember, with Arceus V, a lot of the time what you're going to want to try and do is be accelerating energy onto a Pokemon V, and then you're going to be able to switch it into the Pokemon you want, like an Arceus, or it could be anything, but you still get to keep the energy you've gone and accelerated, and that's a good thing. But actually, while we're here, this is another nice example we can use, because Arceus only lets you accelerate energy onto a Pokemon V. So accelerate onto something like an Arceus, and then swap. Swap it into something like a Radiant Greninja that needs free energy and can take out 2 bench Pokemon. Oh look, now not only have you got Radiant Greninja out, but you've got the energy you need, and you can immediately go and hit 2 of your opponent's Pokemon for 90 damage, potentially getting some surprise KOs on the bench. Oh look, that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? And sure, your opponent is going to be trying to play something like Manaphy to stop the shenanigans, but if your opponent doesn't know that you're playing anything that hits the bench, are they really going to be prioritizing getting Manaphy out to try and stop you? Because in the early game, you can generally only search so many Pokemon. There comes a point where you have to stop searching Pokemon, so you have to prioritize the ones you really want. So if you can go and get your opponent in a position where they're not getting Manaphy because they don't think they need it, and then drop this as a surprise, hi. Yeah, this is pretty good. Want another example? Zacian V. Zacian V is great with this, because obviously Zacian V's got that phenomenal ability that lets you draw 3 cards, but if any of them are metal energy, you can attach them to Zacian. But then maybe you don't want to attach with Zacian. Maybe you want to attack with something else. Fine. Just swap Zacian with another Pokemon in your discard pile. There you go. We all know that Dialga is proving to be a very good card around at the moment, but we also know it's very expensive, and getting energy on Dialga nice and early is a good thing. Well, wonderful news, ladies and gentlemen. You can use Zacian to get the energy on yourself on the first couple of turns, and then use Thornton to go and swap for Dialga, and all of a sudden that energy acceleration just got a whole bunch easier. But one of my favourite options with this is Reggie Gigas. I love the idea of this with Reggie Gigas. Because, of course, the whole deal with Reggie Gigas is that if you get all 6 Reggies out, you can use the ability to attach free energy from your discard pile, and it is any energy you like. It doesn't have to be basic energy, it can be special. But Reggie Gigas only works where you've got all 6 Reggies in play. So firstly, you can't really play a non-Reggie, because if you start with it, there goes the combo. And secondly, once you got the Reggies out, that's all you really get. Do you guess where we're going with this, ladies and gentlemen? You play 1 or 2 redonkulous techs, and if you accidentally start with them, Thornton will bail you out. It's not ideal, admittedly, but it will bail you out. Or, if they're not Pokemon V or anything like that, you can just scoop up net. But then when you're ready and you've got the energy on, swap your Reggie with the energy for whatever you like. And this is about the time where amazing rares could finally be good. Yeah, I've been waiting, ladies and gentlemen. I have been waiting for amazing rares to be good, because oh my goodness, they have taken their time. We've all tried to make them work. It's not worked yet. This could actually, genuinely, legitimately make amazing rares work. Eviltal, 5 energy, instant KO. Yes. Sounds good to me. Raikou, 120 to the active, 120 to one of your opponent's bench. Sounds good to me. Kyogre, 80 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. Sounds good to me. And this is my point, ladies and gentlemen. This is why I'm so excited about this card. Because actually, there are so many different random dumb things that you can do with this card. And I've only just given you a few examples. I think combining this with Arceus is clearly a really good thing. I think that combining this with Regigigas is a really fun thing to do. I think combining it with Zacian is a really fun thing to do. And I don't think they're the only options. I think they are just some examples. And that's why I love this so much. And I'm going for the big swings here, right? There are plenty of smaller things you can do, like just, oh, I've had a bad setup, let's get the right Pokemon out. There's not a particularly exciting way to try and, play this card, but it is actually very good, and I love it, ladies and gentlemen. This is one of those cards that you could imagine 95% of the player base ignoring, but then all of a sudden someone comes along and makes an absolutely broken deck with it, and I love it. For what it's worth, I did say it was quite similar to other cards. This has shades of Nanu about it. Nanu lets you swap a basic Darkness Pokemon in your discard pile with one of your Pokemon in play. Nanu is only for Darkness Pokemon, but it can switch with any Pokemon in play, whereas this specifically has to swap a basic for a basic. That's pretty gosh darned important. There's also an element here of Ninja Boy. This isn't exactly Ninja Boy, let's be clear, but it seems like a bit of a spiritual successor. Ninja Boy let you swap one of your basic Pokemon in play with a basic Pokemon from your deck, which is kind of cool, honestly. So this is very much like the follow-up to those cards. This is big. I'm giving it 5 Wassy. Somebody is going to break this card, and I am absolutely here for it. But the other thing we need to be talking about here is Pidgeot V. We knew there were a bunch of Pokemon V coming in the set which had not yet been revealed, and now we've got Pidgeot. Incidentally, we know there is no V-Star coming, because we know what all the V-Stars are in the set. Now, 210 HP is quite nice. The retreat cost of 1 is actually disappointing. We'll get there in a minute. It's not ideal. But you've got an ability that reads, once during your turn, if this Pokemon is on your bench, you may shuffle this Pokemon and all cards attached to it back into your deck. It's Suicune GX. It is the ability of Suicune GX, but it's back. And put simply, there are 2 reasons why you would want to play this card. Number 1, you cannot deck out unless you're against a mill deck. If your opponent is discarding cards on the top of your deck, then you still can. But outside of a mill deck, you cannot deck out while you've got this, which is brilliant. And secondly, if your opponent can't get a one-hit KO on Pidgeot, they can't win. They're not getting a two-hit KO because you're just going to keep putting it back into the deck. So you know what? If they can't get a one-hit KO, they're not getting a KO, and this is brilliant. But you need an attack to pair with it. And what we've got is free energy, 80 damage. If you have a stadium in play, 80 more damage. And this basically sums up everything I feel about Pidgeot V. This is almost broken. There are just a few little things that almost make this broken. But no. And that's the problem. You see, the retreat cost of 1 is kind of annoying. You want a free retreat cost because obviously you want to be retreating it to the bench and then putting it back into the deck. And yes, you can put an air balloon on there. And yes, if you put the air balloon on there, that will get shuffled back into the deck with Pidgeot. But then you've got to keep finding the air balloon every turn, which is not always the easiest way to go about it. The attack damage is 160, which isn't enough to KO Pokémon V, and even with a choice bout, you're only getting weaker stuff like Luminion. You're going up to 190, that's not quite enough. And 210 HP, there's actually quite a lot around at the moment that can get a one-hit KO on that. Most of the big decks can get a one-hit KO. Not to mention it being weak to Lightning means it shares a weakness with Palkia that an awful lot of people are going after at the moment. And you have the potential, as an attacker, to basically take a hit, go to the bench, and heal so you never get KO'd. But you don't have quite enough HP, or quite a low enough retreat cost, and you don't do quite as much damage, and the attack cost being 3 rather than 2 is a really big deal, because then means you've got to have some kind of energy acceleration every turn, and that basically means that Pidgeot is a pivoter. It means that you can clear a bench space if you need it. It means that you can make sure you never deck out. And there are absolutely good reasons for this. And there will be people that take this and make it broken. But this has become a niche card / anti-deck out card. Again, milling decks won't be stopped. They will just mill the Pidgeot. Rather than a really good card that it could have been. So I'm giving it between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies. That would be barbaric. I'm not saying it's a bad card. I'm saying it's so close to being an amazing card, but as it is, it's just a bit too weak, a bit too expensive, and it's not going to work in the way that I personally want it to. But it is going to stop you pretty much ever decking out, so it's not like there's no reason to be excited. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think about all of this, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.